Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Building the CWA, which is the Components web app. If you don't know what the Components web app is, you probably don't yet, so check out the introduction. It gives you a brief overview, but in short, it's a system and framework for developers to build fully featured, decoupled websites, and it'll provide a full content management system and loads of features. But in this episode, I just wanted to talk to you about what we are doing in our CWA Nux 3 module versus the CWA Nux 2 module, and just how we're improving the speed and responsiveness of the web apps, and why our system of loading in the website data in such smaller chunks can give you a more responsive feel on the website, and something we didn't really take advantage of at all in the CWA Nux 2 module. As you'll see in our CWA Nux 2 module, when we click on a page, there's almost enough time to take a sip of coffee before we actually get a page change response. The loading bar comes up, but not a lot else happens until the whole page changes. So if we go over to the Nux 3 module, this is using exactly the same API at exactly the same time. I've just switched tabs. And you can see the difference in responsiveness here. So what are we doing differently in the new Nux module? Well, we've completely reworked the fetcher to begin with. An adjustment we made to the API last year was as a result of me meeting Francis Lebois, who's a senior developer at VectorFace, Caddy server developer, and a lovely guy. And he noticed that the Components web app was making a lot of HTTP requests. And while there are big benefits to making small cacheable requests, the way in which we were doing it was fetching one resource, finding out the next resources that were required, then fetching those. The API has been adjusted now so that it can also fetch a manifest. So while we're traversing the tree at the beginning, we also try and fetch a manifest file so we can know all the resources that we need to be fetching in one go. While we built that into the Nux 2 module, it was a bolt-on, and there were some big improvements to be made once we decided to remake the Nux 3 module from the ground up. So once we had the data loading as fast as possible in small cacheable requests, so we're always getting the data from a static cache rather than hitting the application layer, and those resources are only being cleared from the cache if they change, then we were able to start really diving into that data as we were receiving it and make the website more responsive. So we decided to completely rework the data storage layer as well, which means that we were able to access much more information about the page load. We're checking for when the UI can update as soon as possible. So as soon as the page resource and the layout resource is loaded, we get a page change. And then as soon as component position resources are loaded in, we get little loaders until the actual component is able to show as well, which means things appear on the page as soon as they're loaded rather than waiting for the entire thing to load to try and make it as responsive as possible. I hope it gives an insight into what we did to try and make the websites much more responsive, and it will make a bigger impact as the websites get larger. But it is really important to think about what we can do to make the end user's experience as responsive as possible, to give them the information, to give them some sort of response from their page changes as quickly as possible. Because of the Components web app having all of this data coming through in smaller chunks, we're able to give them whatever information we have as we have it, instead of the old style of website where you'd have to wait for the entire thing to load on every single page change. So I hope you found the video somewhat informative and interesting. If you want to ask me any questions or have any more topics to talk about in terms of website speed and responsiveness, feel free to drop me a line on Twitter. I'm at developer_west. If you're interested in the Components web app, check it out on GitHub, or just go to cwa.rocks and you've got a load of links there to try things out. The Nux 3 module, I'm going to try and get a working demo online in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. Catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.